civil society organizations in over 150 countries together fighting the climate crisis. On day 2 of this COP28, we are here as world leaders arrive from. Today's briefing will focus on unpacking the major announcement from yesterday, which
Is it enough? No. Does it really going to help people at a scale at which it's needed? No. But what we are welcoming is finally the world has come together after 30 years. It was 1991 when we raised this issue for the first time. So it took a very long time. There are other questions as well. Whether the money that has been pledged is new and additional? No. If countries are going to use the mitigation pot or adaptation pot and now divert it towards loss and damage, it's going to be even more disastrous, because then you are actually creating danger, much more danger in the future, and you are leaving them unprepared by taking money from adaptation. The host of the Loss and Damage Fund, the World Bank. Now, rich countries pushed World Bank to host it, and they said the argument was that it's going to be speedy because the institution is already there. Creating a new institution is going to take time so that we can start helping people on ground. Now is the real test. We have seen some pledges coming in, and particularly it was the US that was pushing for the World Bank and also not agreeing to even mention loss and damage in the name. And that's why the current provisional name is Climate Impacts and Response. And then you heard what the US did in terms of pledges. UAE, as a developing country, technically they are still a developing country, they are not obligated to pay for loss and damage as per the convention, as per Paris Agreement. But as a matter of solidarity, they put $100 million, and we should welcome that. Matched by Germany, and then we had many more pledges. What did US put on the table? 17.5 million pittance. And who is the biggest historical emitter? The US. It just doesn't match. What's going on?
If we're designing policy and agreements to align with a 1.5-degree goal, then no new projects, exploration and expansion, or financing of fossil fuel production, including oil, gas, and coal, is consistent. Look, climate policy and agreements are complicated. But what's not complicated is that 86% of the emissions trapped in our atmosphere today, and of the carbon emissions, come from 3 products: oil, gas, and coal. And the whole idea that here we're fighting just to have the language of a phase-out of fossil fuels incorporated in the text 30 years after climate negotiations have begun is absurd. We need our governments to stand up to the fossil fuel industry and acknowledge the reality that we can't just build the good stuff. We also have to stop building more of the problem. So what we'll be looking for as outcomes in COP28 is language that recognizes the need to address all fossil fuels and the life cycle of fossil fuels, that recognizes the need to include production, transportation, consumption, and combustion, that recognizes the need to end the expansion of fossil fuels. It is not a transition if we continue to grow the problem. We need to make sure that a phase-out is clearly linked to equity and common but differentiated responsibilities. And paired with a phase-out of fossil fuels, we also need to see a tripling in the commitments on renewable energy capacity by 2030 and at least a doubling of energy efficiency improvements. So
the many fossil fuel producing countries that are simultaneously expanding fossil fuel production and at the same time claiming falsely to be climate leaders, and I want to call them all. You cannot be both. The United States, for example, the world's largest historical producer, is also the world's the largest historical polluter. And it's continuing to scale up its production. And we must say the time has come for us to hold all fossil fuel producers to account and to demand together a full, fair, and fast phase out of fossil fuels. And that is the opportunity we have right here in Dubai.